Okay, in this tutorial we're going to look at creating an ambient occlusion pass. Now, if we just go to Photoshop, this is the kind of pass that we're taking out, and what this is going to give us is darker areas in the parts of the scene where the light isn't hitting. So that's what ambient occlusion gives you. It gives you these kind of contact areas where light doesn't reach. If you actually look at my render here, I have this ambient occlusion pass over the top of this. Okay. If I just set this to a blending mode of multiply, just show you if you switch this on and off, you can actually see this gives the render much more depth. You can actually see all these contact areas, especially under the feet, in the ears, and different areas where light isn't actually getting to. Gives it a much better render. Okay, so let's look at doing this in Maya. So let's go into the render settings first of all. I am actually in my passes right now. You may not have this on. Maya 2016 has a new pass system, which is here, but really this is to work with the new Mila materials. So if we're working with standard materials or all the materials, we can use the old pass system. But to get this on, what we need to do is go to Windows, Settings and Preferences, go into your rendering preferences and make sure that this is checked. Show Maya legacy passes. So I'm just going to add an ambient occlusion. Where are we? Ambient occlusion. And just go into the edit settings for this. So over here in our attribute editor, I'm going to use local AO settings. I have played around with this, so I'm going to use a maximum distance of about 5, which gives us that nice kind of contrast, the white and blacks in the ambient occlusion. If we have this too high for your particular scene, and you need to really play around with this for your scene, because it may differ depending on the screen scale or the size of the scale of your scene. It's going to look too grey, which we don't want, because when we overlay that, when we multiply that, it's actually going to darken the areas of your scene. So we want the white to be completely ignored and just the black areas to darken up your render. I'm going to put a bit of a spread on, so this ambient occlusion just spreads out a little more. This is just how far the spread goes of the ambient occlusion. And let's now associate this pass. So in our channel box, we only have one render layer anyway, which is the master layer, the one that's already created. I'm just going to associate this. Okay, so I'll just do a quick render, and this is actually not going to work. Let's go to File, Load Render Pass, AO. You can see on this we have no ambient occlusion at all. It's almost just like creating a mask on this. And this is because we've not switched on, or we've not told Maya to use ambient occlusion. So let's go in and into the settings. Let's go to our quality tab. To get to these settings, we need to show advanced settings, and it's going to be down under the legacy options down at the bottom. So let's go down, right down to the bottom. We have this ambient occlusion. We need to just check that on, ambient occlusion. Okay. Let's go back to our passes. Oh, actually, we can leave that. Let's just go to render. Okay, and just like this render. File, load render pass. Okay. So there we have that kind of thing, which you can see where the ambient occlusion, or actually where the ambient occlusion is given us. Now the quality on this is a bit low. We're going to up the overall quality anyway on this to give a smoother render. We could take up the raise of this as well, but probably the quality setting will do for us. Okay. So let's do that now. Let's just go into the render settings again. Let's go into quality. Go to the top and I'm going to set the overall quality to say 1. Just do one final test render. Okay, just pause that for a second. Let's load the render pass. Okay. Now, And we do have a problem with this in that the background is black. So to fix that, we need to go back into our camera settings. Just need to find the environment drop down, and we've got the background color here. So I'm going to change the background color to white. I don't know if this will update straight away. Nope. But it will do when we do the renders. So let's do the renders on this. So we're using this pass. I'm going to go into the render settings. I'm going to go into the common tab. So what we're going to be rendering out here is two passes. The actual beauty pass, and we want the ambient occlusion pass as well. So I'm going to go into this prefix here. I've got the scene name already. Just right click and insert to the scene name. I'm also gonna, so again, just right click over this to add render tokens. It's going to go in and actually insert the pass type as well. So this is going to give us just look on this, it's going to give us our file name. We're going to have the render pass name, which is going to be our render thing, which is this is called dude06. We're going to have the render pass type, and then we're going to have the number and then the extension on this. Okay. Again, I'm just rendering one frame out on this. So let's go in and let's do a render and a batch render. So before, when we've done a render here, we've not been separating the file off. We need to do a batch render to make sure that we are separating this scene. Let's just pause it now. Okay, so this is rendered out. So let's go into Photoshop. I've already opened these files up. So these are two files. You can see we've now got the white background on there. And we've got our normal beauty pass. So we can take this. Let's just Control A to select all and do a copy. Control C. And our other render, Control V. And let's just go in and set the blend mode to multiply. And there we go. Obviously, if this was an animation, you would render out an image sequence, and you could put this together in something like After Effects or Nuke if you're high end. But that's how to add an ambient occlusion pass, how to render one out from Maya and actually add it onto your render. And that's the end of the tutorial.